spaces that reflect your personality. Sometimes going bolder is better.
Hi, my name is April Mondelli, and I am the owner of April Elizabeth Designs. I love designing family homes that are both beautiful and functional. This was a really fun project to work on. My client's very brave. She makes bold decisions, which is always really fun for a designer. We went with some really bold colors, textures, and finishes, which always add a lot of drama to a home.
Sometimes making some bold design decisions can help create gathering spaces that truly represent your personality. Welcome to SOFLO Home Project, and welcome to our new Sunday prime time hour during college football season. I'm Alena Capra. I just absolutely love interior designs with really bold and striking design choices. We're seeing so much of that lately, and it's truly a way to create unique spaces for the families that live there. This 3,600 square foot home has 4 bedrooms and 5.5 baths. The homeowners updated the family gathering areas with design touches that better fit their style. April, welcome. It's nice to have you back here on SOFLO Home Project with us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
So why don't you give us a little bit of background on this project, because it was a renovation.
Right. So this is a pretty new home. It was built maybe 6 years or so ago, but wasn't really lived in for long. So my clients bought this home. It's kind of like their dream home, but they wanted to make it their own, bringing it up to date, modernizing certain things, and really adding their style.
So let's jump right into the kitchen, because we are here. It is a beautiful kitchen. And the first thing that I'm drawn to is the black cabinetry. I love the boldness of that look.
Yeah, so do I.
I feel like in general, white cabinets may be the most popular, but finishes like this is so stunning.
White, as you said, is probably the most popular color. That's the most common color that I use for kitchens. So black to me is also a classic choice. It's neutral, but it's classic. It is trendy at the moment, but it's been around for many years. So I think if you do black, you're also safe in that way, that it's not a trend that's gonna be out in 5 years or so.
I think that's a great tip, because black and white are classic colors that are timeless. And you've changed out the hardware as well.
I think brass works really well with the brown tone that we have in the floors. My client loves gold, so we were able to bring in some of the gold. It's a very bold choice. It's not for everyone, but again, that goes to me for that's your personal taste, it's your personal lifestyle.
And I love the way you mix the metals. We've got the matte black here, we've got the brass and the lights, and then on the hardware.
So I mix metals all the time, and I actually think it looks better when you do mix metals, because it doesn't look so matchy, and it brings more depth to the whole project. I think it gives you more freedom, so I don't feel married that I have to have every single finish in this home gold.
And gold is also very tricky to match. So as designers, we know it, but to homeowners, that is one of the hardest finishes when dealing with hardware.
That's a very good point.
So April, the island here is such a focal point of this kitchen. Did you extend this and make it bigger from what it was?
Yes, we did. So we actually extended it both ways. And we did that because it's such a large kitchen and it really was unused space. Our thought was, let's make this island amazing. Let's make it like a huge focal point, a wow when you come in the house. It's an open floor plan, so you can kind of see it everywhere. So this leather finished quartzite was actually the star of the show. This really balances it out, because you've got white countertops there and you've got this bolder, more just interesting quartzite here to just balance it. And when you go too bold with the countertop, you can't go too bold with the backsplash, and you balance this perfectly here. We're going to talk more about that when we come back. Coming up on SOFLO Home Project, see how small design changes can make a bold statement in any space.
I'm Tack Renato with FHIA, and we're going to discuss making sure that you're asking the right questions and making sure that contractors do the correct work so that it doesn't void your warranty when it comes to doing your next roof project on today's SOFLO Home Project.
Welcome welcome back to SOFLO Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we're continuing our tour with designer April Mondelli of April Elizabeth Designs. And April, before the break, we were like diving into all of the design details of this kitchen that you designed for your client. And we stopped short of the backsplash. So April, you had mentioned the balance. And I feel like this strikes that perfect balance of more interesting and bold countertop, and then a more subtle countertop with the white quartz, so the backsplash really speaks.
Right, so jumping off of the white quartz, we're able to transition to a bold backsplash. And then the question becomes, where do you stop the bold backsplash?
It's always the big question. How high? Where do you stop
right,
the hood?
Exactly. So it gets a little tricky when you have cabinets that don't go all the way up to the ceiling. Clients wonder, should I bring the backsplash tile above the cabinets? Because that is kind of a trend now.
Right.
So I think it's striking the balance between the boldness of the pattern, the height of the kitchen. If it becomes too much, the pattern becomes too bold, then you want to cut it off kind of around the hood area. So what we did here was we brought the black wood and kind of created an end point for the tile, because this bold tile I think would have become a little overwhelming had we brought it above the cabinet.
I agree with you, and I think it's nice because you get multiple finishes in here. You get the painted finish above the cabinetry, which brings in this beautiful wall color. You get the boldness of this, and like it doesn't stop here. So as you notice, it goes just enough to really highlight the hood, and that's that balance
that
we're talking about. Now, April, I love this whole focal point of the kitchen. There's great seating in the island, but there's more great seating in another area right off of the kitchen, and we're going to check that out next. But first, let's see what Tack Renata from FHIA has for us today.
We're still getting a lot of questions about changing out roofs, and I'm hearing from a lot of homeowners about the different options that are available and making sure that they're making the best decisions for their home in deciding to change out their roof. And one of the things that we often talk about when we meet with homeowners is what are our expectations and what are our goals when we're changing out our roofs. And a lot of times homeowners are saying they never want to do it again. They want this to be the last roof that they ever put on. So there is a solution for that, and there is a way that we can accomplish that, and it's by using the Integrity Roofing System. What we really love most about the Integrity Roofing System is it's never any additional charges for the homeowner, and it really includes everything. And we recently had an experience with a homeowner that really kind of illustrates why it's so important to make sure not only you're making the right decision with the contractor, but also choosing the right system. So we recently met with a homeowner that 12 years ago put on a new roof. And when they were putting on the new roof, they asked the roofing contractor to put on 2 layers of felt paper. So the roofing contractor did that. They put 2 layers of felt paper on, and then they put the shingles over top of that. And again, I'm sure that contractor knew that doubling up on the felt paper was not going to make it any more preventative from water getting into the home. So you telling the contractor to double up on the felt paper, A, you just paid additional for something that's not going to even come close to accomplishing what you were trying to do. It was also voided the warranty, so they have no warranty. It was a 25-year supposed warranty, and they have none, and they're looking to replace their roof 12 years later. Asking the right questions and making sure you're choosing the right contractor that also listens to your questions and gives you the right answers is so important, because here's a family that had a roof put on 12 years ago that should never be replacing their roof already, and yet they're doing it again. But this time they wanted to make sure it's done right, and that now they never will do it again. So we're certainly glad they gave us the opportunity to meet with them and help them out so that they never have to do it, and they chose a great roofing system, and they're going to be so proud and so happy with the decisions that they made. Back to you, Alena.
Thanks, Tat. So April, we were just looking at the kitchen. You have this grand island with lots of seating, but then right off the kitchen, a beautiful breakfast nook.
So we want to tie in all the finishes that we used in the kitchen, and we did use her existing dining table, and then really spruced up this niche over here to add like an extra wow. We have a lot of these arched niches in the house, so we really wanted to make this both functional and beautiful at the same time. This is actually a natural piece of walnut. It's a slab that we selected. It has this really beautiful live edge to it, so My client had this existing artwork, so really it ties in all together. We love mixing some of like the glam features of the gold, but then kind of like scaling back a little by using some natural elements.
It's a really nice mix of both of those two things. I love the wall covering. I feel like that really plays to the stone that you had chosen on the island. Another nice way to kind of marry those finishes.
Right. Exactly. So when we selected this wall covering, basically it had all of the colors and all of the tones, and that's really important when you're trying to marry a bunch of different rooms together. You really want to select materials that combine everything.
Very nice. And we've got a lot more to see in this home when we come back. Coming up next, how to make a dramatic change in any room with built-ins.
Hello, this is Juan Cabrera with Ace Restoration Services, and normally you'll see us in a home, and today we are in an office in Brickell. And the reason we're here today, we're doing a water damage mitigation where you see the flood cuts, and it was caused by a recent rainstorm that caused their balcony to overflow. Luckily, they called Ace Restoration Services first, and we were able to manage their damage. So what we have here is a standard flood cut that we perform whenever there's a flood in a building or a room. And we also protect your personal belongings here, whether if it's in your home or your business. It's very important to protect your personal content. And here's the balcony, which was the cause of the problem due to a clogged drain. Very important that you address the issue to correct it so it doesn't happen again. Let me tell you why flood cuts are very important. Here you have new insulation that we installed. We had removed the old insulation that was contaminated with mold. Very important that you address the mold in the insulation because just simple cavity holes would not dry this properly or decontaminate it. We have to do an extensive mold remediation here where we take out the affected drywall and clean and wire brush the studs here that you see that are very clean. It is very important to identify the signs of damage so you can properly mitigate. Number 1, peeling of your paint. Number 2, separation of the baseboards. And number 3, discoloration of your baseboards. When you've suffered a loss, it is very important that you identify the problem. And once you have, it's very important to call Ace Restoration Services first. Call us before you call your insurance company. Call us for a free inspection. We'll assist you identifying, documenting, and mitigating your damages, which is key to your claims process. You can find us at ace2restore.com or reach us at 866-2RESTORE. Let us manage your damage.
Welcome back to SOFLO Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we're continuing our tour of this beautiful home designed by April Mondelli of April Elizabeth Designs. April, so before the break, we took a look at the kitchen and the breakfast nook, but completing this great room right here is the living room.
My clients love entertaining. They needed a lot of seating. We wanted it to be very comfortable. So as you can see, we brought in a nice large sectional, super comfortable. It has the durable performance fabrics.
That's a good thing.
Yes, we use a big area rug to anchor the room. So again, tying in some of the colors. We have, you know, some of the dark gray that kind of pulls in the black without being too heavy, just to tie all the rooms together.
And it has that little hint of the gold that we've seen in the kitchen, and I kind of love this pop of emerald green.
My client loves color, she loves texture and pattern. As you can see, we have this big acrylic piece of art that we had made.
Love this. Lots of fun color too.
Right, exactly. So this is actually all the album covers that were the greatest rock albums of all time. So adding some color with this and bringing in some of her personality, we chose to bring in the dark green to just give a little more personality to the space. Again, I feel like dark green can be a neutral as well. It's not overpowering, but it does add a little more personality.
Absolutely, and you said that key thing, bringing personality into the space. And I think the bold choices of going with some really cool wall art like this, those touches really make the space.
Yes. So we wanted to draw your eye towards these beams that we also added.
I like the beam detail.
Yes. And the reason we also did the beams, which I think is something, you know, a good designer tip to point out, is that the ceiling tray is not centered with the furniture.
And sometimes that's a challenge because you
yes.
don't know where to anchor your lighting.
Right.
And other things.
It's really difficult with lighting sometimes. So had we put a chandelier in the center of the room, it would be kind of where I am. Whereas now we filled up the ceiling with beams. We're not really concentrating on a decorative light fixture, but we finished off the ceiling with a really nice design, and it balances out the whole placement of the room.
And I like that it brings in the black from the kitchen, but on the wall unit, you went with the walnut from the live edge that we saw in the breakfast nook. Softens it up a little bit, but that still brings the boldness of that great pop of black.
Right, exactly. So again, just kind of trying to tie in the different colors and the different finishes without going too overboard with one or the other. I think that's how you balance.
In this room, you did something special that I think is great for our viewers to see. You hid the archway. How did you do it?
Right. So something that I come across a lot is that in these homes that have archways, they can go a little overboard, and clients get a little nervous. If I get rid of one arch,
where do you stop?
Exactly. Can I get rid of this arch? Does everything have to be straight? Does everything have to be an arch? So as you can see here, we do have an arch leading into another room. And where we designed this large wall unit was also arched above. So I wanted to kind of get rid of one of the arches. So rather than deconstruct the entire wall, cut out the header, spend a lot of money, we used some good design and construction. We built around the curve. It's still there, you just don't see it.
And that's a great thing. So it's all about concealing some architectural elements that you don't necessarily want to go through great lengths to change with the millwork.
Exactly.
Great example of that right here.
Thank you.
It's all about striking that balance, knowing where to start and where to stop. And I think this is a great visual on how to do that. Next on SOFLO Home Project, we saved one of the most dramatic room transformations for last. SOFLO Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we're continuing our tour of this beautiful home designed by April Mondelli of April Elizabeth Designs. April, so we have seen the kitchen and the breakfast nook and the living room, so it's sort of the great room.
Right.
But you've saved the best for last with this dining room.
This dining room is right off the front entry, so I wanted it to be dramatic. We kind of designed this to be sort of like a gathering space where you could have a glass of wine with friends.
I love the wine. I mean, the wine wall is such a nice focal point.
It's not a huge wine collection, it's more decorative than anything, but it just gives the room a purpose.
Absolutely. Sometimes that can be your art. Like you don't always have to hang art or a mirror in something like this. You could do something a little different. And I love that you kind of found all these little areas to incorporate storage.
Right.
Or like a serving top. Such a nice way to take advantage of the space.
Exactly, so just trying to add a little more function while we're making things pretty. We always want to make them functional as well.
You had talked earlier about the archways. Here you kept the archway and highlighted it with wall color.
Right, so by covering the back wall with a natural cork, but wrapping it all around the inside, it really highlights the architecture.
And I love that you bought the wallpaper all the way up here in this whole ceiling. And you didn't just go inside. Well, something I want to point out to our viewers that I think is cool is sometimes, again, on this back wall, you may just do the back part of the wall, but what you did by wrapping it on the other areas, same thing here, bringing it all the way out, it gives so much more depth. Is there like a rule to that or any tips you want to share about doing that?
Well, I agree with you. I think it's just another level of depth. It seems much more grand when you do that. So it's always amazing to do something on the ceiling. As you know, people forget about that quite often, but it's super dramatic when you add wallpaper to the ceiling. And I think just taking advantage of the entire ceiling. Don't be scared, you know, it's more drama, and I think it just feels more grand. This is a very bold choice, yet again, using a green cork. It's not gonna be for everyone, but I think that if you're brave and you can go with something like a colored cork, that just the level of drama it brings is completely worth it.
April, so like they say, it's about going bold in the home, go bold and go home. Bring in the bold patterns, the fun wall coverings, beams, the really beautiful backsplash tile, and in this home, you did that all.
Yes, I think when you take risks with colors, bold patterns, textures, that's what makes your home unique, and that's what makes it yours, and that's what makes you love your home.
Very well put. And April, it was a pleasure touring one of your projects with you again. We've gotten a lot of great design inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And now let's take a look at what design inspiration we've got in store for you next week on SOFLO Home Project. Keeping your yard looking beautiful shouldn't take up all your free time. We have expert advice on how to create low-maintenance green areas around your home. So I hope that you all at home got some great design inspiration for your own homes on today's episode. And we hope to see you again next week for another episode of SOFLO Home Project right here on Local 10. And remember, there's no place like SOFLO Home. If you missed any part of this episode, or if you're looking for more design inspiration, make sure to check out all episodes online at SOFLOHomeProject.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram.